Hey everyone, and welcome to my video where we're going to be going over a coding example of how to create controllers within your ASP.NET Web Forms application. So first things first, we want to create a controllers folder. So let's go here, add new folder, controllers. So now let's right click, add, and then go over here to new item. You could click controller, and then you'll have to select from Web API and then just do Web API to controller and then dash empty. And then this will actually add your web API config file that if you guys watch my presentation, my overview presentation about this, I go over like how to create it manually. But anyway, this will create it for you, but you'll still need to import some NuGet download some NuGet packages, but let's just create it from scratch. So add, I'm gonna go ahead, new item instead of controller, and then here I'm gonna type controller. I'm gonna select that, and then I'm gonna name this orders controller. Yes. So here we go. So this created us this file. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna delete all of this. So this created this controller for us, and it actually also installed the Web API core NuGet package for us automatically. So let's say, let me undo this just so you guys can see. But as you guys can see, you know, it didn't create a Web API config file for me. So I'm just gonna undo everything here, just to show you guys. I'll show you guys the other way. So if I had continued doing it that way, I would have had to create the Web API config file myself. But there's another way to do it. You go to add and then just controller. You go to Web API. Make sure it's Web API and not MVC5 controller. Web API. And then Web API to controller dash empty. And then add. And then here it wants us to specify the model that we're going to be doing this for. So this is going to be for my orders model. And here's some instructions that it's giving you. First, it's telling you to add these namespace references. So here, actually, first thing that you can see is that it added this orders controller and this Web API config. Now, it didn't install our NuGet package for us, so we're going to need to do that ourselves. Install, find and install latest version. And there we go. So that's it. It created our Web API config. So I think it did not. Yeah. So now we got to follow these instructions. So we already have this application start. So now we just got to copy this guy and bring it over here, and then bring in this. Install this package, the Web API web host, and there you go. That's it. So just get rid of all these unnecessary imports, and that's it. Now, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way by creating everything yourself, you can just follow the instructions from my overview video. Okay, so now that I have this controller, I'm going to go ahead and start creating my my code. So route prefix. Now I go over all this stuff in my overview video. So you know, if you need to know what all these things are, I go into it in quick and fast detail there. So I would recommend to watch that if you haven't. So yes, I'm just going to be coding this, not really talking. just so you guys can see my thought process of how I would code this, and just so that you could code along with me. So here I'm going to create a constructor. This is where we would have our dependency injection, but I haven't installed a package for that, so we can always do that later. But okay, so there's our constructor. Now we're going to be able to use order BLL in our methods. So now we want to make it so that the user can get all of the orders. So we're going to do an HTTP GET. It has to be public, and it's going to return a list of orders. Hitting Alt to enter to bring this up, just so you guys know. Yeah. So this is going to be the default route. So it's going to take this route since it doesn't have a route. It's not going to add anything in front of it. So it's going to be localhost and then my port and then dash API dash orders to access this function. So now let's return. This is going to be easy. We're just going to use our BLL to access this data. So now let's do one if the user wants to get a specific order. Can we do this here? No. The user is going to have to specify an ID. So public, it's going to return one order. Let's actually do HTTP response message here. Call this get order. I have to specify that ID. So order equals order BLL that get order. I don't have one. Okay. Add and get order. So here we're gonna do we're just gonna like do a little cheat here. We're gonna get all the orders for this example, but we're gonna do implement direct database fetching of this order ID. So we're gonna turn all the orders, return the first one that has an ID, this order ID. But realistically, what you guys need to do here is implement, you know, repository access and data access layer access. You know what? Let's just do that. Let's just do that. Let's go to our data access layer here. Since it's similar to this, copy that. Get order. Okay, so now we're going to return an order here. And then we want to go into our repository. Mm. What does our get orders look like? Order. Order. All right, first let's do this. First, let's get our order. Repository, get order, and then the order ID. If order does not equal null, return order. If order does not equal null, then associate services with orders. So here, we want to select the first one. And here, we want to pass the order. Ah, that's right, it needs to be a list. So new list, order, and then we'll just pass in this as a one item list. And then associate users with order. So again, new list order. So these functions are expecting a list, but we only have a single order. So we're just creating a list here and then return this. Okay, so now you can use get order. So now it's not hacked. So go back to our controller, get order, and then order ID. Oop. ID. So now if order is null, like let's say they submitted the wrong order ID, let's return a response of Stu not found. And just let's just return that. Otherwise, if it's not null, then we did return an order, and we can do return request create response, status of OK, and then return them the order. Cool. Okay. Now let's do create an order. Let's let the user create an order. So HTTP post. Let's give this a route of add order public. Now we're going to need to specify IDs here because we don't want the user specifying, because I think Yeah, our create function expects an order and then a list of services that are going to be attached to that order. So let's just go ahead and create a new model for this, because the user is going to be passing this in the body. So let's create a new model and call it order request. This will have public order and a public list of long service ID. So, so now the user is going to be able to pass back the list of service IDs. So now we can actually put that here. So, order request, that order, and this is going to get it from the body of their request. Service IDs. So now if, well, first we should check order request here won't be null because they need to have something. So first we should check if order request order equals null, or order request order equals null, and let's do return request response HTTP code. Let's do a bad request. Say you must provide an order. And now let's make this smaller. Let's make this smaller. Let's make this bigger now. So now if order request, so this is just some validation checks, equals null. Yeah, it's okay if they don't send in any services, but they have to send in a blank service at minimum. Let's create response, add request. You must provide a service list. Okay, so if all this is true, if they successfully do this, and we do go ahead and create their order, then return request, create response, okay, and then return their order that we just created. So there we go. We have a post there. We could also do something like this. So this doesn't have a route. So that means that when they do send a post request to this route, it's going to execute this function. And when they send a post request to this route and this method route, like appended to here, so something like this. When they send a post request to this, then it's going to execute this. When they send a post request to this, then it's going to execute this because this doesn't have a route attribute associated to it. Okay, but we'll just name this create order too. Okay, now let's do a modify function. HTTP put, so public. Let's do order. Let's just return an order for this. Modify order. Order request, since we're going to allow them to change the services if they want. So we want to make this an order request. We want to use the order request model. So here we'll do return order BLL modify. Okay, I don't have a modify function. So theoretically, this function will allow us to modify the services or anything about the order. So now we have to implement that method. But for this one, I'm not gonna really do this. So what I will do though is to do implement order modification. And I'm just gonna do a check here for service ID. So if service ID's dot count is greater than 0, then let's implement change services for the order. So if they pass in a list of services and we know that they're trying to change the services, so let's go ahead and do that for them. If they don't pass in services, like let's say they pass in an empty list, then this won't execute. So empty. And then first modify the order, and then if they want services changed, run this, change the services, and then eventually return the order. So we're just gonna use this for now. We're not gonna actually implement it. You guys should implement something like this though. Let's go back to our controller. So now that we created that method, we can call it order BLL modify order. Order request order, and then order request dot service IDs. And actually, let's also return this. And you know what? Let's just copy this whole thing since it's kind of similar. Because we do require an order and service IDs. Maybe not service IDs. We won't force them to provide us service IDs for this. So this might be null. That's okay. This, if that's null, like if they don't pass it in at all, because this will do that check. If everything goes fine, it modifies it. Then yeah. And here we'll probably want to do like, you know, a get order from database. Or no, here we'll want to do like maybe a try catch here. And return null if any database executions fail or something. I don't really know. And then do something like if order equals null, then return request response. Let's do internal server error. There was an issue modifying your order. Otherwise, if there was no issue, then return OK and return the order that we just created. And finally, let's implement a delete. Here, we'll have the user specify the ID in the route, the ID of the order that they want to delete. Let's do HTTP request message delete order and then long. And this, let's make it so that they can't delete an order unless they know our secret. So, and for that, we'll utilize headers for them to pass the secret to us. Try get values secret. I mean, theoretically, you know, this would maybe be an API key. So let's just do that. Let's call it API key. And then out var and then API key. And within the web application, you might actually have middleware that does API key validation. So if you want to research middlewares, go ahead and do that. It's very cool. It's a stuff that it essentially intercepts the request before it hits your controller, and if you can do it to validate like secrets and stuff to make sure that people who are only authorized to access your application can access it. So, but we're just gonna add that in here for now. So if the API key is null, or API key, or if it's not null and first or default does not equal, let's say ABCD, then return request create response. Let's do this forbidden, or I think there's an unauthorized. Yeah. Really, you could use either. You could use unauthorized or forbidden. I'm gonna go ahead and use forbidden. Like, this user is forbidden from making this request, from executing this function, if they don't provide the correct API key. So please provide the correct API key. Oh. Okay, so if they provided the API key, that's ABCD, then that's cool. They can go ahead and modify the order. So let's get that order, or I mean delete the order. So first let's get that order, make sure it exists. Get order by ID. Let's make sure it exists. So order, if order equals null, so if it doesn't exist, return request dot create response. We didn't find it, so I'll return a not found error. And the order ID provided does not exist. If it does exist, that means that now we're on this line. Let's try and delete the order. So bool order deleted equals order, and then delete order. This is going to return me a Boolean, and then delete that order ID. If order deleted equals false, then return request dot create response. Let's do like internal server error, because something bad happened. There was an issue deleting your order. Now let's say that it was deleted. That means it will be on this line. So let's return request create response. Let's return a message of OK and return them the order that they just deleted. So that is it. I'm also going to go ahead and create myself a controller for just getting the list of customers that the orders are associated with. Bum, 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 bum. Actually, you know what? I can just do that here. Since it's associated to the customers anyway. Yeah, I'll add that here. Okay, so I'm gonna put that here with the gets. So HTTP get public HTTP response message get get customers. String partial. And this will take a we'll have a route where the user can enter partial name. This matches this. But if this is empty, it's just going to call this get orders. So we should do customers names, partial names. Yep. All right. So what we want to do here is we want to return a list of the customer names. So let's go to here. Let's just do get customer, get order customer names, where the partial name is this, where and actually we want to use like and let's just go into our orders model real quick. Make sure that there's actually a customer name. Yep. So, okay. So since I named this after my tables, I know that there's a customer name column in there. So this will work. So do that. Place partial name here. That. This will return a list. I should have copied this one. Okay. Okay, so now this will return to us all the orders that have that customer name. But you know what? We don't want the orders. We just want a list string. Yeah, no, let's return the orders. We can use that data for multiple things. So right now what I'm thinking is I'm going to build out a text box that when you type, it hits the database and it populates a list of, as you type, it'll just populate customer names that you typed. So even if you partially fill it out, it'll populate the text box with like a list of full names and stuff. So you guys will be able to see more probably in future videos. So stay tuned. But I just want to build this out for now. So return a list of orders. So now we got to go into our repository. Let's just copy this method. Let's add it here. Implement it. I want to rename this. Okay. Now let's go into our BLL. Yep. Okay. Now let's go into our controller, get customers. Get customer names. Yeah, get customer names. So, now let's just delete this for now. Return. Let's just return the orders. whatever comes up. Even if this is no, that's fine. Okay, so actually, no, this is, yeah. List string. If orders does not equal null, customer names equals and then return the list. And now let's say that we want to get the orders off of this instead of just the name. Instead of just a list of names, let's say we want to return the orders. That's also fine. Based off of the customer name, so get orders by customer name. So this will be API/orders/customers. Let's do partial name here. Yep. Okay. So there we go. So now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to test everything. I'm going to open up Postman. Because dashboard is my startup page. Oh wait, I gotta set my give me one sec. I gotta set my web config secrets. So that it can connect to the database. Okay. But let's also set the login as a startup page. Made a mistake on my web config. So let me just fix that. All right. So now we'll let that load. It's loaded. We'll open up web config, and I've already made my my methods here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try these requests. So here I'm going to make a GET request, and I'm going to specify, let's close out of this. I'm going to specify the route of API orders and then dash ID. So it's going to hit this function right here. API orders dash ID of 18. Select. Order doesn't exist for that order ID. So let's see what order IDs do exist. So now I'm doing a GET request on this URL, which means this one right here, because it doesn't have a prefix, or it doesn't have a routing attribute on it. So it's just going to take the prefix of the controller up here. So send, see what orders we do have. All right, we have to remove serialization from this. Where's my models? So the reason they're coming out all weird like this is because they're being serialized here. Okay, save all, play. And now, let's send again. Cool, much better. Okay, so this is returning back my models. So this is returning back all the orders. It's returning me back this right here. ID, customer name, service date, and it's doing that because of the controller. Let's close out of all these. Because of the controller that's returning me just a list of orders. So okay, yeah, so it's returning me all the orders and the services. Here's order 15 with and here's who it's ordered by. It doesn't have any services. Here's one that has service 5 in it. So let's test one that's kind of in the middle. Let's test order 13. So get me order 13. So here we go. Order 13, customer name, John Smith. And this is the service date and all of its information. All right, so get orders. We just tested this. Yep. So this is a query string parameter right here, 13. Get orders. We just tested that for all of them. Now let's say that we want to add a new order. There's a website. Let me find it real quick. So there's this website that you can go to, c#to-json.io. What you can do here is, so since I want to add an order, for my request, I need to send in this order request. So what I'm going to do in this website is I'm just going to copy this here. I'm going to go ahead and now go into the order. Copy that. And now go into the service. I'm just essentially going into this and this. Anything that order request has. All right. Takes a list of services that are long. So yeah. And that's it. So let's go and click JSON now. I think, yeah. So it's giving us an error because we have this. I wonder. Well, I think it's a constructor. Let's see if we remove the constructor. Oh, it's actually, let's see if we just remove this. Yeah, so it's looking for service and user. So let's remove service here. Where's it getting user from? It's getting services here, so we need to remove that. It's still complaining about that. Oh, and then user. Okay, here's user. Okay. So this is what my order request should look like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. And you know what? Let's just create a new request. You can give your request a name here, but I'm not gonna. It's going to be a post. I'll give that later. Change this to JSON. So this is what it's going to look like. The service IDs is an array. So I'm going to want to assign this a service ID. I want to assign this order that I'm going to create service IDs 2 and 3. And then my order will look like this. I'm not going to specify an ID because I don't need it when I'm creating an order. Customer name. So the cool thing. So essentially what I'm doing here is exactly what I'm doing here. I just wanted to show you guys how I would create this. So, you know, I just replaced the order here. I replaced this null with what goes in the order right here, which is this. It's the same thing as this. You know, this is actually this. So, but anyway, I'm gonna delete this. Go back to add order, and here you can see I'm using Postman's random name generator, random full name, and you know, I can give this a date of September 1st, paid amount 0, ordered by user 1, and then let's create service IDs 2 and 3. Those are the services that I want. Here we go. Let's send this request. Okay. Ordered by... Oh, right. I'm just passing in the ID. I'm not passing in the ordered by object, which is the user. Right. So this... let's actually allow... So if... actually, you know what? Let's do if order by ID is greater than 0. Then do this. Else do this. And if this is true, then cool. If it's not, then do this. And this, if this doesn't have an ID like I just didn't provide, then indeed throw an error because you have to have a person who it was ordered by. So let's start that back up. Okay, let's send the request again. And here we go. Order ID 19. You can see it created a customer name of a random name. September, like what I put here. And I gave it services 2, which is cleanup, and 3, which is tree trimming. 2 and 3 right here. It was ordered by user ID 1, which is me, right here. And the total is 350. And then ID 19. So if we go here to get order and then specify the ID 19, you can see that we're getting it back from our database now. Like it exists in our database and our functions are pulling it in. ID 19. Let's modify. We're going to modify order ID 1 and we're going to change the name to this. And the service date to when we're going to change it to actually let's modify ID 19, the one that we just created. I think the name was what, Lewis or something, with the September date. Now we're going to change it to another random name of October. And yeah, and let's not pass in any service IDs. Actually, no, let's make it so that now actually they only have service ID 1 instead of 2 and 3. They'll only have 1 now. So here we go. Customer name, I changed it to Maria. It changed the service date to be October instead of September. And we didn't really implement this modify function here, so it didn't really do anything with the services, but I just want to show you guys that, you know, what this would do. And this is a put request. And then delete. Let's say that we don't like Maria anymore. We're going to delete her order. But you can see here that I provided a bad API key. So I'm sending an API key, but it's not the correct string. Now, if you guys remember, we set it to ABCD in the controller. Here we go. So this is the error that it's returning us. And you can see here that it's returning a 403 forbidden. Please provide the correct API key. And here it's returning, this is a 403 forbidden. And please provide the correct API key. So now when we sent in a random API key, it doesn't work. If we don't send an API key, also doesn't work. We'll only be able to delete if we send the correct API key. And now it deleted the order that we had added, and it returned us the order that we deleted. So now if we go to get orders, let's just go to get order 19 here. And you can see that the order doesn't exist anymore. And then I actually do want to just validate this real quick. So get customer names. To get. So there doesn't exist any customer name with the word test user. Now I do think I do have a user with the word test, a few of them. Nope. Okay, I have Smith. All right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so this is not returning me any users. Or any orders, I mean. Yep. Oh, right. So in MySQL, it's actually gonna be something like this ish. Yep. Returned Smith for both. Let's remove the breakpoint. And what if we just do MIT? Should still return Smith. Yep. And then let's do Pissa. Yep. What if we do Gaston Pissa? Yep. Although it should really be returning distinct. There we go. Yep. So anyway, that was a little, coding example / walkthrough of how to create and implement controllers into your ASP.NET web form applications. So if this helped, feel free to hit that that like button, the thumbs up button, and feel free to subscribe and to get some notifications of whenever I post a new video. And that's about it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.